Today we have Devin, my friend from Connecticut, near New York. We talk about the switch career and many other things. So let's get started. How are you, Devin?
I'm doing well. I'm actually really excited to do this. I haven't done one of these in a while.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but the last thing I did was for the practicum, the coding boot camp that came over from Russia is now in the United States, and they're doing one here. So they did a big interview with a bunch of Twitter or devs from Twitter, which was pretty cool. So I haven't gotten the chance to do one of these in a long time.
Nice. That's very good. Yeah. So okay, so let's get started. We'll talk about the switch career, and I also would like to tell you that I switched career when I was 31 or 32. So we are kind of similar. So
Yeah.
I'd like to hear your story. What are you currently doing? What are you currently working on? And why, for example, why did you want to learn coding, for example? Because everyone has their story. I'm really curious about that. Yeah.
Yeah, so right now I'm what they would call an emergency telecommunicator where I am, which is just essentially a 911 dispatcher. So I dispatch police, fire, EMS, and I answer 911 emergency calls when they come in. So I've been doing that. I've been in public safety for probably about 10 years now, give or take. I've been at my current place for about 5 or going on 6, I think. But it's the time right now is rough in the industry itself, but also it takes its toll. I'm burnt out. You know, I've done it for so long. I've been on midnights for almost all 10 of those years. So I work 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. 5 days a week, and my days rotate. So, you know, as like right now, I'm off. Like tonight, when I go into work at 11, it'll be my Monday, and they rotate every 3 weeks. My days off change, which has its ups and downs, but you know, I've missed holidays, I've missed birthdays, you know, family events, parties. It's 24/7, 365. It doesn't close.
Yeah. So why don't code like 24/7? It's
Yeah,
it's quite better. Yeah, it could be
but
anything.
so I remember, you know, as far back as like the MySpace days, to you know, date myself a little, but
I remember that.
you
Yeah.
used to be able to
I'm old
get in
enough.
there.
I'm old enough. Yeah, I'm old enough. I don't know.
You used to get in there and mess with the HTML, the CSS, and it was fun. And I've always been interested in computers. Like I built my first computer when I was 13. I was lucky enough my father was, you know, helpful with that. And it's always something I tinkered with, and it's something that I should have went into a career, but I got blinded by I made really good money when I was 18 and I got into the field that I'm in. So it kind of sidetracked me as much as I wish I went to school for it. But it's at a point now where I was like, I got to pull the trigger, and I was thinking about going into hardware, but then I looked more and more into coding, and you know, it was one of those things. I jumped on free code camp, got a little bit done, and I was like, this is what I want to do.
Yeah, in my opinion, maybe it's better to start with software instead of hardware. Maybe hardware could be maybe hard. Sorry for the poor word. To get started, maybe easier. I don't know.
It's a very competitive field, the hardware. That like I mean, as a software development starting to become it, but it's hardware is way less in demand, I feel, than development is.
Yeah. I don't know. Of course, you should follow your passion, but maybe if you're not sure, if you want to start with something, maybe you can start with software and then you'll see. Maybe I don't know if you stay into development.
I was kind of on the fence until I started really messing with stuff, and then you know, once I broke into the more current stuff and outside the HTML block, I was good.
Yeah. So when actually did you get started? When you wrote your first?
I want to say when I seriously started probably was around the end of April, beginning of May in 2020. So a little over 6 months.
I think that I still remember that. Yeah. So, yeah, maybe
it hasn't been too long
about that. Yeah. So you did during the lockdown during.
Well, so the lockdown for me, the lockdown didn't change anything when it comes to like work and stuff like that. You know, we're in the building. We never closed, obviously, because it's emergency services. If anything, we got busier for a little while when it first started. But
and if we remember at the end of this call, if we have 5 more minutes, we'll tell us some secrets, some strange codes. But this is just for the people who want to hear that. But Yeah, please remember that when I say goodbye, though, you
Oh yeah,
remember this. I
I've
think
one in mind. It's a quick
I
one,
think
so it'll be good.
that you have at least one or two. So yeah, so what's your experience with the coding starting from zero? Because it's kind of new. Maybe it's easier for you to explain what you actually felt in the beginning, because I think that I started to getting serious coding like 5 years ago. Maybe I forgot something. Maybe I'm old, so I start forgetting things. But
Yeah,
maybe in
so
your case, yeah, you can give us like hot opinions. Yeah.
I mean, for me, I started with, so I leaned more towards web dev in the very beginning, which kind of helped. You know, I actually used Reddit. Anytime I'm looking for this kind of stuff, I always check Reddit because there's always somebody who's got one outlandish opinion and then a semi-normal one. But, so I looked up the best way to learn to code and then just typed Reddit after it. And I found a bunch of threads, and majority of them were about web development, which was the front end side, which I was kind of more interested in the beginning anyway. I'm not really design oriented, but I understand it more, and I had at least a base level understanding. Um, so they pointed me in the direction of Free Code Camp and the Odin Project. And I liked the Odin Project because it was a lot more article based, and it was a lot more kind of like reading docs, reading documentation on a language, anything like that. But I started with HTML and CSS, and I blew through it. And then I got to JavaScript, and I started to manipulate the DOM and realized I had no idea how to do CSS other than the basic how to adjust the font size and that kind of stuff. So I went back and I really deep dove. I spent like another couple days on HTML just to make sure I got the semantics down. And then I spent like a good month and a half doing CSS just to really make sure I understood it, because it was crazy when I went over to JavaScript how much CSS you needed to know to be able to make JavaScript worth it. Because you can always make JavaScript work, but if it doesn't change anything to make it look good, then it's, it does the functional end. But
Yeah.
so then I jumped into JavaScript. I went deep dived into JavaScript for like a good month and a half until I really was solidified in like the core fundamentals and a lot of the ES6 stuff, because I knew I wanted to transition into React. And I've been doing React for about 2-ish weeks, maybe 3 now.
So I think that you are done with JavaScript. I think that it's fun.
Yeah,
it's fine. Yeah. I think you are almost there, I think.
JavaScript is one of those things, because I posted something. It's funny. I made a tweet about it, and somebody was like, "Well, you don't ever finish JavaScript. How do you know when you're done?" And I was like, "That's not what I mean. I mean the course. Everybody's so literal sometimes. I meant I want the fundamentals of JavaScript. The basics of what you need to use, and then the current like ES6 stuff that you're going to definitely use, regardless of which library or framework you go to. Almost all of them are using ES6, so you need to be up to date on the current stuff to make it. You can use the older stuff, but just to make your life easier, the ES6, ternary operators, and just not having to write out 42 if statements.
Yeah. And I think that you did the right approach, in the sense that, because for example, I've talked with a lot of people that maybe they got a job, and then they was just basically thrown into a project with maybe Vue.js, React from zero. Mm-hmm. So they felt a bit lost. Then maybe they needed to get a step back, and they started to learning JavaScript by themselves. In your case, I think that you are getting the normal part, but in a good sense. So it's good for your mind, I think, for your mental health, because you're just learning that. You're doing fine.
It's been pretty good. It's funny. Like I said, I was doing React for 3 weeks, and somebody reached out on LinkedIn. It was a startup company, and I was talking back and forth. And I'm very transparent when it comes to, I don't. Mm-hmm. There's no reason to BS on an interview, in my opinion, because you end up just catching yourself out when it comes to the point of having to do the code. So he asked me to do an assessment, which was they send you a wireframe of a chat app, and they just want basic functionality. They give you 1,000 names with some data, just essentially like a mock API file, and they want you to parse it, display it, be able to filter it by name, and filter it by whether or not they're favorited. And I was like, oh wow, I have no idea what I'm doing. But I ended up, I stared at the computer for a little bit, and then I got it to work. I got the favoriting functionality to work, and I was kind of I got it styled enough and I sent it back because it had a 2-day limit. And I didn't want to, go over. So I sent it back, but then I worked on it on my own and I got the search functionality to work and I got the filter functionality to work. And then I actually ended up reaching back out and I just said, hey, listen, I refactored it. I know it was a 2-day, assessment. So I have no problem if you want to talk about the code that I submitted originally, but I just wanted to let you know that I was able to get the functionality and they've taken it, and that was yesterday. So we'll see what happens. But it was pretty interesting to go from having no React experience whatsoever to having to build like a semi-functional chat app in 3 days.
Nice. Yeah. I have a question. Do you actually have a GitHub account yet?
Yeah.
Or not? Yeah.
Mhm.
So this is good, and I think
That was that was when the Odin project. Another reason I like the Odin project is one of the very first things they have you do is set up Git, set up the command line, set up a GitHub profile.
Nice.
Because they are very, Free Code Camp is great and it teaches you a lot about the workflow and how to code. But the Odin project, why I like it is it makes you job ready in a way where they get you ready for technologies you're going to have to actually use. You can go through an entire Free Code Camp, get all the way through to React and know how to do all of it and have no idea how to push your code up to GitHub or even have versioning if you're not using, like VS Code or something that has it built in.
Yeah. I think that this is a really important part when you get started into coding. I often tweet about this. To learn Git, you don't have to be a Git master.
No.
But just the basics to don't lose your
all your work.
repository. Your repository. Yeah. So that's it, and then you can move to GitHub, open an account. Yeah. But so that's good. Yeah. Thank you for that. Yeah. So I'd like to ask you about another topic because this is what wasn't actually planned, but what about the Discord? Because you are really a Discord master. So we are a Discord master. We are talking about development, but I'd like to talk a little bit 5 minutes about this because
Sure.
I think that you just set up I think two or three Discord servers.
Yeah.
In a matter
set up a couple
of minutes. You are just you're really a Discord master. It's a rare skill actually. I think if I don't know if I'll ever open a Discord server, but in that case I'll bother you.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah, because you are really great at doing that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about this, because it's a strange skill that you have that it's great.
I actually, I don't have as much time now, but I really love video games. I was a big video game kid growing up. I still, when I get the time, I play. And probably about 2 years ago, I streamed on Twitch for like about a year. And I had decent, I got a decent following, I had fun with it, but it was just very time consuming. That kind of content creation, this kind of content creation you do takes an enormous amount of skill and effort and time. And then live creation has its own bounds because you're bound by time always, and you can't fix it later. But the reason I say that is with the video games, Discord's the Slack of the video game world, essentially. And it just works so well. Right out of the box, they make it very user-friendly. But a friend of mine reached out to me when we first started looking for, what were we playing at the time? Overwatch or Destiny, I can't remember, but we were looking for other people to play with. So we made a Discord and we set up advertisements essentially on Reddit and a couple other forums to get people to join that just wanted to play. And no intention on doing it, but ended up building it to about 1,500 users in a couple months. And, just off like a couple Reddit posts and stuff like that. And we figured out how to organize it, how to manage it. There's a lot of trial and error, which bots worked well, which didn't. So that's really where the Discord experience comes from, to where now it's just, I ran it for so long, it was just me and him, that it's just kind of like a second nature thing. And once you know the ins and outs and like what you need to, which bots to bring in and how to set them up, you can set these things up in a few hours.
Yeah, but this is actually what happened with development. If you know exactly what to do, it's not that hard to create
Yeah,
a site
exactly.
also in React. But in your case, you have this skill. I think this will be really useful. This could be. I think that you could actually do this as almost as a job. I don't know
I would
because
love to. Well, I mean, so
yeah,
it's actually it's essentially a community manager job. You
yeah,
know, like I mean, getting it set up and everything is one thing, but like getting the networking part of it is big. You know, being able
yeah,
to get out there and get people to come in, keeping people engaged is a huge part of it
yeah.
too. Like I've seen discords, like professional company discords for like gaming, and they'll be very active. People talking all the time. They do stuff. They have events, game nights, that kind of stuff. And then what will happen is the social media manager will leave for another company, and then it just dies because there's nobody drawing that engagement. It's like a full-time job. I
Yeah,
mean, it is a full-time job.
yeah, yeah. It is. I think that I'm actually like in 12 or 15 Discord servers.
I
Actually,
was in
they,
far too
yeah,
many at one
I,
point.
I think they actually are just 2 or 3 they are active. So yeah, and this is of course is not a problem. It's not your problem, but yeah. So, but this is really great. I don't want. I'm still thinking about that. I don't know if I will ever do that, but I don't know. In that case, you will get one message because
Listen,
yeah,
YouTube blows up anymore, you're going to need one.
yeah, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. Thank you. Yes. So yeah. So yeah. Before talking about those calls, I still remember that. Yeah. For example, which socials do you use?
I mean, I have an Instagram, but my Instagram is more of it's old and it's personal more than I use
Mm-hmm.
it for the code stuff. It's just there. I don't mind following people and mine's open, so it's nothing. But mostly Twitter. Twitter's the big one, and then Discords that I'm involved in, that kind of stuff. But Twitter's the number one
Yeah.
without a doubt.
Also, yeah. Also for me, yeah. Also for me, Twitter is in my heart now. Yeah. So and yeah, when did you get started with Twitter? Because this is interesting.
Around well, so I've had my Twitter account for a long time, but I never used it. And then right
Yeah,
around
every
the same
every
time,
every every person that I interviewed, and including myself, they have this problem because it's hard to get started with Twitter.
hmm
I'm helping one friend of mine, just like zero followers, but I'm trying to help him basically because I think because I I talk about Twitter every day, every second. So in the end, he decided, okay, let's open a Twitter account.
let's try it out.
But yeah, but without a guide in the beginning in Twitter, it's kind of hard at the beginning. I think I started that in like 2011, and
hmm
then I think I did my first tweet in 2017, something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah. So what's your experience with that?
I mean, honestly, like outside of like, you know, the random little tweets here and there among people that I know and that kind of stuff, I actually, when I started to learn to code, I started to look and I would find people's Twitter accounts and I realized that Twitter was a very big thing in the development world. You know, it was a very big medium
Yeah,
for how a lot of
right.
people communicated, where, you know, like games is Discord and like, you know, professional side is Slack, that kind of stuff. But most people I found were interacting on Twitter. So, you know, I would find threads that I liked or things that I was interested in or learning, and I would talk to people on the threads. And it actually started really organically, which is kind of the same thing how the Discord thing started. It started organically and by accident. And then it just kind of, you know, it snowballs, and then you realize what works and what doesn't. You start to, you know, you look into the best way to grow. And the reason I like to, you know, I use that word because everybody thinks, oh, everybody just wants a social following. It's a vanity number. I'm the first
Yeah,
one to say follower count is a vanity number. Follower count doesn't mean anything if you don't use it right.
yeah,
So if you're not using it, you're using followers to, you know, just push your course, and that's the only thing you're
yeah,
doing,
yeah,
then
yeah.
it's really not, there's no engagement. You look
Exactly.
at those people that only do that, and they might have 150,000 followers, but
Yeah,
they get 3 to 4 likes on a post,
yeah,
or maybe a reply once every 6.
yeah.
Where you'll look at some smaller accounts. I mean, mine has grown, you know, at a decent rate. I mean, I think I'm just over 8,000 now, but you look at some of these accounts that have 500 people, and their likes and replies are thousands and
Yeah.
thousands because people just resonate with the content they put out.
Yeah, yeah, and this is also one of the reasons why, and I think that sometimes the connections and all this social media game to get likes, get comments. It's a bit annoying. I think it's starting for me. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I'm also trying to do this kind of stuff to make stronger connections, maybe less connections, but yeah. For example, I'm sure that after this call we can interact in a better way. So
absolutely.
yeah, I can read your tweets with your voice. So good. Yeah, you can send me message. I can send you messages. Yeah, so it's different. So I already feel the difference with every people that I've talked with.
Mhm.
Yeah, I felt so good. It's yeah, it's, because sometimes this social media they try to create like this game
Yeah, it's
to
a very
engage. It's I call it a
forward-facing
game.
persona that's
Yeah,
not actually them.
yeah, I hate the Twitter algorithm. It's a beast. It must be fed every 4 hours. So
Oh, I know. I don't.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, once I didn't log for like 1 or 2 days, and I got like almost no views on the next tweet. So
Mhm.
yeah, so
It can be
that's
frustrating. There's times where I get frustrated with it, but a lot of the time I try to walk it back, and I'm like, I remember reading tweets
yeah,
with no likes that helped me more than somebody who had 50,000.
yeah, yeah. We don't know why this happened. Yeah, and yeah, but people there, I found really valuable people there, like you, for example. Yeah, so the people are really great. These are great, friendly dev community. So
Hmm.
nothing wrong with people, but yeah, sometimes it's a bit hard
Yeah.
and yeah, basically, yeah. When I say, "Wow, how did you get so many followers?" I say basically lockdown. This is the answer. Yeah, that I
Yeah, I mean,
say.
lockdown definitely
Yeah, yeah,
attributes to a lot of it, but I also made sure that if I tweeted most stuff, there's still something I'll post something ridiculous sometimes or something I found funny, but most of the time I try to make sure that if I'm putting out anything that it provides value in some way, shape, or form. So whether it be resources or just I also I committed to learning out loud. So I make sure that like if I struggle with something, I'll tweet about it. If I find a
okay,
way to make something work after fighting with it for 4 hours, I'll tweet about it because somebody might be fighting with the same thing and I can save them 4 hours of debugging and getting ready to throw their keyboard out the window.
yeah.
So I feel like there's so many times where I found posts where people are like, "Oh my God, this took me so long," and I had just started, and I'm like, "Oh wow, it's really that simple." But I
Yeah.
probably would have gone through the same headache had I not found it.
Nice, nice. Yeah, yeah. So thank you. Yes.
Yeah,
So yeah. So actually, you're not a developer, as you said, but
yeah.
do you
I'm not
think?
employed.
Yeah, but yeah, but and now yeah, what do you think that you'll do in the future? So do you want to, for example, focus on React? Are you just already planning to do something else? Because for example, me, I say
Mhm.
my personal experience in the beginning is I was really feeling lost
Yeah.
in the beginning. So I think that the initial phase it's really important. uh,
Mhm. Yeah.
so,
For me,
which are your plans? Because, yeah,
for me right now, I want to get through React. So I'm going to spend a good amount of time on React because there is a lot of intricacies with it. There's a
yeah,
lot of different outside libraries that get used and that kind of stuff.
mhm,
Um, I want to do, in between that while I'm still doing it, I want to get a little better with design stuff, look at some different resources for that. But
nice.
so mostly React, and then I want to make sure that I really get Express and Node down
Okay,
because I figure once I have those two, and I mean, I'll dive a little more into Docker. I use Docker pretty much right now. I know you love that,
I
but
don't know.
I
I don't.
use it.
I don't know what are you talking about.
What Docker is, but I only really use it for my VS Code containers right now,
Uh,
just because I work on different platforms, so it just makes life easier. But I would like to get a little bit more
so
versed because I know that's very job ready. But
yeah,
I figure with those technologies, so having all that front end with the small amount of back end with Express, and the only reason is really for the API stuff,
yeah,
is it'll make it pretty much employable at a junior level without really much issue,
yeah, yeah,
because I have the Git and that
yeah,
kind of stuff.
yeah.
So I figure for any kind of front end job, most front end jobs you look at now ask for a little bit of Express or at least some knowledge of Node,
Yeah. Yes.
because you interwork with it so much. I don't want to be quote unquote full stack developer right off the top. You know, at some point down the road, maybe to be able to freelance and go on my own. But as of right now, I want to be in a position because I think it's the best way to learn is to learn from people who have been doing it.
Yes, yes. So you're planning to learn a whole stack instead of focusing, for example, on multiple front-end frameworks. I think this is the good idea.
So I think the beauty of the JavaScript frameworks now, and like even with Node, is that it's all, first of all, it's all JavaScript, which makes it, if you know JavaScript, you can kind of just jump into these. But the beauty of the front-end frameworks right now is they're very similar, with the exception of Angular being Angular. But you know, the two most popular ones are React and Vue, and they have a lot of similarities. And you see a lot of developers can just transition with a couple days of just looking over the syntax and how things are written in one or the other, that they're able to just kind of move over into the new tech.
Yeah. I think that if you get the good basics, then it's what you say. So if you first get the basics, then you can move easily. Otherwise, you can lose more time.
And I'm also in that philosophy of, you know, you're better off being an expert in one thing than kind of good at a bunch of things. You're way more valuable, in my opinion, if you can write a React app front to back and clone Netflix in an hour, compared to somebody who can, you know, they can make it look decent on the front end and they can build you the back end a little bit, but there's limitations on both sides. Yeah,
and the problem is that the technologies, they move fast. So if you, because I know this because, for example, in the beginning I wanted to know everything. So learn 3-4 front-end frameworks, all the backend technologies. So I was that kind of person. Okay, so but I think that the problem is that, okay, you can get an idea of every framework. You can also make some courses. Maybe you get to a point when it's good, but then the months they pass, and the problem is that every framework gets updated. So you should get update on every framework. That's the real the real problem is that it's not that you can do a bunch of frameworks. Is that it's hard to stay updated.
It's hard to keep up.
Yeah, it's hard to keep up even on one technology. For example, I am on the Docker official page almost every day, but I could not do that for every technology, of course.
Yeah.
Because we have only 24 hours. So so it will be really hard. So that's it. So if you focus, I think that if you focus on just one stack, you can get updates, because the Node team is great. Yeah, and also the React ones, the Vue, if you want to choose Vue. But that's it. So I think, in your case, I think that. And why you don't call yourself a full stack? If you actually can do a full stack application, then you are a full stack. Why you don't want to be?
It's funny. Most front end jobs you look for now anyway are pretty much full stack in the old, well, not the old definition, but the definition of it. You know, most front end jobs don't just want React and you know, HTML and CSS and a couple other things. They want, you know, SQL and Node and
but what and what about the databases, for example? Do you want to just learn how to use them, how to connect to them?
So I'm kind of looking towards the merge stack right now. So with Mongo, Express, and all that. But I also know how popular and how important SQL is. So I want to know enough to be able to work at least within them. Because my thing is, when you're working on the front end and you're sending the data, you need to know how it needs to be sent and how it needs to be parsed so that it can go into the database, and vice versa. You need to be able to pull it out of the database when you need it.
Okay. Have you ever used an ORM? Maybe not.
So the only thing I've used so far is I've used Mongoose a little bit.
Okay.
And I've used MongoDB a little bit.
Yeah, there is something for called SQLites for SQL databases, for example, that I use sometimes. That's it. And please use Docker if you need anything about that. I can't wait to answer people about those questions. Faye send me some questions about that.
Yeah, I've used it on a very high level other than like setting up VS Code stuff, and like the Docker files look cool. And I've looked into like I forget who it is. Somebody linked me. I don't know if it was you or somebody, but they linked me there's a woman who has a ton of GitHub repositories, and they're all just Docker containers for different kinds of files, like different applications. So
Okay.
like, yeah, she has all set up for like, she'll have one for Zoom, she has one for, VS Code, she has one
Yeah.
for, so on and so forth, all, free or nothing paid or anything like that, but just so that she can just run Docker, open it up, and be good to go.
Nice. Nice. That's really good.
I
Yeah.
thought it was pretty cool. I'll have to find it.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think it was me because I can't remember this. So
I
I
don't
think it
remember.
was
I tweeted about Docker one time, and then I remember I talked to you, but
yeah.
everybody was on the
Yeah.
Docker train for a little
Yeah.
bit.
I don't know if I'm saying something wrong now, but are you in the WeStryve group?
Yeah, so I'm actually an ambassador for WeStryve.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about this because maybe we can connect this your experience with Faye. I don't know
Okay.
if it will be released before or not.
So, well, actually, it was because of Faye really is what got me looking at it more. I remember when they first came on the scene and they were tweeting about it and everything, and they were talking about, what they were looking to do, and I thought it was interesting. But then when I found out that Faye had reached out to them and she was, trying to learn and see if she could help, and she was helping them by pointing out like bugs on the site and that kind of stuff, and they actually brought her on as an intern in an attempt to help her learn because they couldn't afford to employ her. I thought that was pretty cool that, you took somebody who really, outside of pointing out a couple bugs, who was still learning and starting, and you brought them into the fold to kind of give them a real world work experience, being able to use different technologies and helping them learn, showing them how to deploy changes in a production environment, I thought was very interesting. So the more I talked to her, I talked to a couple other people, and I actually ended up interacting with their CEO, Dan, a bunch of times. And we've actually had a few calls, some about, how they were set. The original one was about, where they were going, what kind of direction, that kind of stuff. We just talked for an hour about like his vision for it and that kind of thing. And then we've had a few other calls now where, I actually set up their Discord. They have a Discord, but it's a private Discord in turn for their because they have a Indiegogo campaign going right now, and that's one of the perks is the Discord. So you get kind of first preview of changes and help mold how it's going to be. And the other thing is they're very dev focused. They're looking to connect experienced devs with, inexperienced devs in a way to learn and that kind of stuff, which I thought was very good because most of those platforms that are out there now, they're either paid, which is rough because a lot of people can't afford it, or they're, it's hit or miss. There's no verification on experience. I could say that I'm a master React guy and I've, you've been using it for 3 weeks. So there's really no way to know. So what's nice, and the other thing is they won't allow people to pay to post their jobs and stuff like that. So no recruitment, and a lot of it started because of how they kind of got sick of a lot of the stuff that was going on LinkedIn, and they decided to kind of shift gears and go that way.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So before jumping into the calls, because I really want to hear them. Yeah. So what's your experience of this of your learning development? So what's your it's like months, like April, it's like 3 months,
Yeah, a little over
4
6
months. I don't know. In my mind, it's still March, so I don't know.
Right.
You are already on April, so yeah. So what can you say about something about what did you learn? Which problems have you found about the whole experience?
It can be frustrating. That would be the first thing I'd say, but don't let the frustration stop you. And if you feel like you're burning out, because I did it, and I made the mistake, I was like, I just got to learn this next thing. I just got to learn this next thing, and I'll take a break. I got to learn this next thing, and I kept doing it. And then there was a good 2.5 week period where I didn't touch it. And it was right in the beginning of learning JavaScript, because the beginning of JavaScript is boring. I'm the first one to say it. Learning Booleans and, types, and it's just dry. The beginning of JavaScript is dry, but it's important. And what I found was I took a little break and then I went back to it and I started over again and I really hammered those fundamentals. But now I make sure that at least 2 days a week I don't code. I don't learn to code. I don't want to say I don't code. I won't learn to code in a sense of like taking a course or reading through documentation, but I will code something for fun. You know, I believe, you know, pardon my French, but there's a React developer who I love. Her name is Sierra Vieira, and she has a website called Make Front End Shit Again, and it's literally just ridiculous, like 1990s neon lights, old HTML stuff flying across the screen. Like, it's just horrible, but it's great. But the point is, she makes that I try to do is that you just make stupid stuff that nobody cares about, because who cares? Just have fun building something. And I find myself learning so much more trying to build something stupid than I ever have trying to build something off a tutorial.
Let me tell you one thing, and maybe you can get interested also in watching the video, but I don't know if you know Anya Kubov. You know
her?
Yeah,
Annie makes awesome stuff.
Yeah, I've interviewed her. When she laughs, it's impossible to not laugh. Try to do that in a video, because it's actually impossible. And she actually just started by doing some React videos. So
wow, really?
I know this because it was like 2 days ago. So because she was just doing vanilla JavaScript things, and she learned, she teaches with making games.
So I didn't know she was doing it in React now. That's awesome.
So this is a live information. I love this kind of videos because I'm doing this a lot every day. So so I'm really informed about a lot of people that you can give a try to that, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
Because
but that's what I mean. Like, not everything has to be like, Sierra gives a lot of talks on React, but she also gives a lot of talks on mental health and development and that kind of stuff. She actually wrote a book recently called The Opinionated Guide to React, where she doesn't believe that there's best practices, because best practices always change and stuff. That's her opinions on how you should use hooks, or how you should use, you know, context, that kind of stuff. But, you know, she says it all the time, is like, how many people in software development truly believe they're going to change the world? Yes, you should always try to make an impact. She said, but most people aren't going to create a world-changing app. They're going to work in a regular company, or you're going to work on your, you know, freelance clients and that kind of stuff. And yes, you might create Uber one day, you know, or you might create Tesla, but most of the time you're just going to be working in what you love to do. And that should be A, good enough, but B, you shouldn't be so hard pressed on yourself that you have to, every idea has to change the world. I can't tell you how many times people probably don't create things because they think that it's not going to make a difference. So why bother? I made a meme generator the other day just because.
Why not? Thank you, Dan. So thanks for coming. You're really funny. It's really great.
Thanks.
I was looking forward so much for this call. So because I've seen some of your photos on Instagram, and I really wanted to speak to you. But I already know that you was this way. You had personality. I was looking forward to that. So thank you.
This was a lot of fun. Thank you for having me.
That's been great. So we are almost. So I think that we are gonna stop. So if you are now, we can stop talking about development for like 3 minutes, and you can say a little bit about this kind of strange code that you.
It was actually pretty recent too, which makes it even better. But this is probably one of the more PG ones that I can tell on a recorded platform. We got a call. So it was a Sunday evening. I worked in overtime. And this never fails. Every time I work overtime, some weird stuff happens. But so I was working the 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. shift into my regular shift. And I had a call from somebody who was intoxicated. And he wasn't making a lot of sense, and I couldn't understand him completely. But he was in one of our parks where, there's usually a lot of people. But he was in one of the parks, and he kept saying something about being stuck in a bench. And I'm like, this drunk guy got stuck in a bench. That's all I'm thinking at first. But then he keeps saying my guinea pig. And I'm thinking I'm crazy. I'm like, he's just really drunk. So now I'm at we prioritize calls, based on the level of emergency and that kind of stuff and how important it is. And I'm trying to decide how to prioritize it because now he's hung up and I still am not sure what he said, but he disconnected the call. So I'm like, if I put this in and it's just a guinea pig, some weird guinea pig call, I'm going to prioritize it really low. But if it's this guy is stuck in a park bench, it's kind of a high priority. Who knows what injuries he could have. So I kind of like was like, I'll lean on the side of caution. Well, then I get another call from a different person because I'm trying to call him back and he's not answering. She's at the park and I can hear squealing. And she says this man's guinea pig is stuck in the bench. And I can hear the physical squealing of this thing on the phone. So we send the fire department and we send the officer. And no joke, this guy got intoxicated. He went across the street with his guinea pig because he lived right by the park. And he fell asleep on the bench with the guinea pig. And somehow the guinea pig slid between the slats on the bench. And actually got stuck. And it wasn't injured or it wasn't hurt, but I could not believe that I received a 911 phone call because somebody got drunk and got their guinea pig stuck in a park bench in the middle of a Sunday afternoon. But that is one of the more mild ones. I mean, there's a lot. People call 911 for some crazy stuff.
I've been waiting for this part for like an hour. Yeah. So yeah, that's great. Yeah.
It's you can't make it up, and I say it all the time. I'm like, if I told some of these stories, people would never believe me.
Yeah. I think
People would think I was just making it up.
Yeah. So yeah. So thanks. Yeah. So thanks for coming. I mean,
yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for your experience, because I think that the experience of people who are just getting started in the development are one of the most valuable. Sorry, mosquito.
Oh,
yeah. So yeah, yeah. But we are almost in December, and there are still mosquitoes here. I don't know.
It's 70-something degrees here today.
Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So yeah. So thanks for coming. It's been really great. We had a really great time.
Yeah, I
think that I'll go to bed soon because it's 10 p.m. here, and usually I wake up at 4 a.m., 5 a.m. So I need to sleep also. But thank you for coming here. Anytime.
Yeah, thank you again.
Yeah. So that's it. See you.
Yeah, we'll have to. Once you finish your 100, we'll have to do like a big recap episode with everybody. Just a massive Zoom call and just understand no one.
Yeah, I want to do that. But I want to do that. We'll see because because sometimes I like to watch them also. Yeah, so let's see. Let's give a sense to all of this. Yeah, thank you for coming. Thank you for.
All right, I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Bye bye.
All right,
Bye bye. Stop.